Hey everybody, Jeff and I are going to show you how to properly mount a tire on a beadlock wheel. This will apply to all the different brand beadlocks, and I'm sure it's going to give you some insightful information to help you do yours properly, keep it nice and round, and keep you safe. All right, the first thing you want to do is get your wheel out of the box. Separate the beadlock ring, and you're going to notice that it comes with no valve stem from the manufacturer. So you can use a specially made tool that threads on here, and then you can pull the valve stem in, or you can push it from the back or pull it with a pair of pliers. You just want to be careful not to damage the threads, otherwise the valve core won't go back in.
Next, you need to take a look at your tire and see what side is supposed to be on the inside or outside. Some tires, it doesn't matter, some are directional and some are side specific, so you want to make sure you get that right.
All right, so the next thing we're going to do is soap up the bead where it's got to get on the wheel. This is super important. You almost can't use too much of this.
You just goop it on there.
Yeah, and I think we're even going to goop a little bit on the wheel itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what you're really after is this inside bead, because that's what's actually going to be scraping over this. There we go. Hey. So now, what you got to do is you got to get this inside bead now down around the front part of the wheel. So let's look at our half cut wheel right here. The outside of the tire should sit in this groove on the rim. The ring, when it's installed, should sit nice and flat. It's going to get tightened down and it's going to close this gap, so the ring should stay nice and flat. If not, you're going to need a spacer that slips in there and takes up the extra space. All right, the next thing you want to do is take that tire that we just slipped on halfway on the rim and get it over here on a 5-gallon pail. That'll help the tire to kind of sit down around the side.
Gives the tire room to move down and make sure you can get your bead a lot easier, and most importantly, it stays there while you're putting the ring on.
So it's really common that this part fits super tight around the diameter of the rim. So you're gonna have to use some screwdrivers and probably a hammer to get this in. So Jeff, show us how you jam some screwdrivers in there and pull that back over.
Depending how tight it is, you pull it back over there.
Yep.
And sometimes when you do that, it does come back over here.
Over on another side, yes.
So my favorite method is I'll get one in here.
Yep.
I'll hammer it down, pull it out, hammer it down, make sure it stays. Then just kind of keep walking your way around with 2 screwdrivers. I mean, sometimes it goes in without needing
Sometimes,
it.
yes. And I have seen, if the rubber on the tire has a big flash as they took it out of the mold, you can also trim that with a drywall knife, at least the big parts. What you don't want to do is really cut into the casing. This is where the steel bead is rolled in and molded into the tire, so you don't want to damage that on the tire. But the next thing I'm going to talk about is greasing each bolt. The last thing you want to do is start pulling the threads out on your brand new wheel. You can use grease or anti-seize, but you need something. These bolts cannot be dry, and you want to get it right here at the beginning, so as the bolt starts to thread, you're getting all the grease down in there.
Next, what I'm going to do is mark 4 bullets on the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you tighten them, you go in this order. You don't want to tighten them all on one side because you want the ring to come down flat so it doesn't push the rubber to one side.
To tighten the beadlock bolts, you always want to use a torque wrench. For our wheels, it's set to 15 foot-pounds.
Now that we've went around about 8 times,
yeah,
we made sure that all these are torqued to the proper spec. I believe for this particular wheel was 15.
Yep.
Next step is bringing it over to the compressor, airing it up. When you're doing that, make sure your fingers are clear from the rear bead, and it'll pop right into place, and you'll know when it's there. Yeah,
so right now the back of the tire is hanging on there. I would air it up when it's flat like this, just start it, and then it'll pop. It's usually kind of alarming when it pops. But
it is.
And it takes about 25 pounds for it to pop through. So don't be alarmed. It's normal. And then this baby's ready to mount up on the vehicle.
Yep. And it is a long process, but you do have to make sure you do it right. And another important thing is, after your first trip out, recheck the torque on every single one of these bolts.
Yeah, especially if you've hit that ring on any rocks and stuff, you're going to want to retorque. I go through 3 trips where I check them till nothing's loose again. And then you're gonna have a lot of success with this. You'll be able to air down, enjoy running low tire pressure without actually popping a tire off the rim. So, all right. Other than that, this whole process probably took, especially if it's your first time, like an hour to get through each tire and wheel.
Yeah, about that. If you've been doing it for a while, you're probably doing about 20 minutes each.
Yeah.
But just take your time and don't cut corners.
Yep, for sure. All right, have a good one.